Get out the snacks, boys. This is gonna be a big one. Hi, this is gonna be the big one. Let's move you up a little bit, by the way. Hi, it's me, Nexos Floof. Okay. It's been a bit since I've done like a strategy video. Okay, this is going to be the big one. All right, this is going to. I don't know how long this is gonna be. It's definitely gonna be over an hour. I talk a lot, and we're going in depth. This is a full breakdown of how I run, how I play, and how I win with Swarmhost. Okay? Cool. Fantastic. We got a lot to get into. I wrote my first script down on a receipt. Who cares? Roll that intro. Hello everyone, my name is Nexos Floop, and thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate you stopping by and enjoying this obscenely long video. I had to go get a thing so my hair wouldn't be in the way for this video. Cool, great, fantastic. Now, to start off, we need to break down everything. Okay, this is going to be a long video. I'm going to do my best to try and hit all the spots that I think are relevant and important to talk about, okay? So, the list. This is the standard Swarmhost list. There's a variant to where instead of second Saboteur, you go 10 more Neos. Either one I think is fine. I have a preference for second Sabo. That's just me. Now, that being said, for those that don't know, it's triple Benny, Benefictus, one with Assassination Edict, a Primus with the Flaw in the Armor, a Nexos, 2 Reductus Saboteur, 4 20-mans of Neophytes, 3 5-mans of Flacos, this is the Acolytes with flame hand pistols, and then a 5-man of Mining Tool Acolytes, also referred to as Tacos because of Tool Acolytes. 2 5-mans of Pure Strain Genestealers, 3 5-mans of Bikes with heavy mining lasers, grenade launchers, and of the 2 combat weapon. We know what this is. And then 3 Ridge Runners with Mortar and Survey Augur. Also, well, one of them should have a spotter. I personally run triple Survey Augur, but I definitely, after playing 2 Survey 1 spotter, I do definitely see why you would want the 1 spotter. So I'm probably going with that moving forward. Now, what is the role of everything? Okay, in a rough estimation, okay, this is very loosey-goosey because everything can be very pivotal. Or kind of change up what they want to do. But going from top to bottom, the Benefictus here are for damage, just purely damage, okay? They give lethal hits to the squad, they have 2 las cannon shots in and of themselves, they are here as a damage multiplier. Same thing with the Primus, although he was a bit more consistent. The Nexos is here for essentially CP economy. The 60 points to get you 1 to maybe 2 extra CP in the game. This detachment is so CP hungry that it really does pay off to have that. Moving forward, we have 2 Reductus Saboteurs. These are area denial. They're cheap. They're good at holding points. They can punish your opponent for moving forward. They do a lot. They're a very nice harassment piece. Does that make sense? Cool, great, fantastic. The Neophytes. The Neophytes is what this list is built around. It is what everything is here for. They are your damaging units. They are your scoring units. They are your screening units. They do everything in the list that the list wants to do. When you drop, here is all of your damage. If you kind of bounce, they sit there and just be hard to kill. They regenerate. They have high OC. They're good at scoring. They're good at screening stuff out. If you do your 6-inch deep strike, you can screen in front of your opponent, and if they've already used Overwatch or don't have a good one, you can block a lot of their army just with 1 squad. So, overall, they're very, very, very good. Now, with that being supported, sometimes we don't want to commit a big brick of damage. That is what the Flacos are for. They're here to harass your opponent's cheap other little trash units. Our trash units are the best trash units in terms of dealing with the other trash units. Can 5 scouts go kill 5 acolytes? Absolutely. But 5 Flaccos, when they get the drop on the scouts, almost always are also going to be able to kill those scouts, to go kill filleted ones, to go kill mandrakes, to go kill whatever, right? As well as having a good Overwatch threat with the hand flamers into anything that's T3, maybe even T4 with a bad save. These guys are very good. They're also very cheap at 70 points a pop and 2 resurgence points. There's something to where you can buy back 5 of them in a round, so you can get 5 mans with your resurgence points. It's very, very good. I see their role as a trash unit for sure, but compared to the other 3 or the other 2 between Pure Strain, Genestealers, and Bikes, their role is still a bit more damage based. They have a smaller profile, at least compared to the Bikes and the Neophytes, so that they can fit in back lines, or, you know, help deal with your opponent's screens or anything like that, or just like it's easier for them to get behind your opponent, right? So that's better for behind enemy lines, establish locus, all that kind of stuff. With that also being said, they are a bit more fragile when doing that. If your opponent has any decent flamers in the back, there is a good chance that they do just pick them up, because it's 5 T4 bodies with 1 wound and a 5-up armor save. If your opponent overwatches them, they're probably doing it with a good overwatch and can kill that unit. However, if not, they're still just cheap little idiots, and with how people are trying to shoot into the neophytes, there's times to where if you've got the one guy left with a banner, they can still regenerate and continue to get you more and more value, as well as being OC2 as well. Sometimes you can just go throw them onto the middle point and be like, you don't get primary this turn, I'm sorry. And yeah, overall, I think they're a fantastic unit. Moving on, the Mining Tool Acolytes. These guys, once again, just for CP economy. They're great in case your opponent gets into your backlines with a vehicle or 3 wound infantry or anything elite or anything like that, but outside of that, I kind of don't care. They're just kind of, their purpose is to sit there and butter bread, right? They farm me a CP on a 4-up, and they're gonna chill there. There's been times in the night matchups to where, you know, a carnivore gets pretty deep in the lines and they run out and go eat it, or at least do like 6 to 9 damage to it. Sure, totally. Yes. And then other times they just kind of, you know, sit there all game and they don't give me the CP. So honestly, I will say there is a world to where you don't even take the tacos. You might exchange them for 10 more neophytes or something like that. Now, that being said, let's talk about the variant that does run the 10 neophytes instead of the second reductive saboteur. Those 10 neophytes are great. They are non-committal and they are a bunch of OC. What you want to do generally is you run them out into the middle, onto the middle point, or at least near the middle point, to where they force your opponent to have to do something, otherwise they're going to start losing the primary game against you. And you never want to be losing primary against GSC because it's so hard to score primary against GSC, right? So they require something to come out, and when that something comes out, those 10 Neos, dead, gone, you're never going to see them again. You're not bringing them back with the 3 resurgence points, you're just not. But now they're out. And you then on your drop turn can go blow up whatever they put out, right? Or you can trade with even cheaper trash units, right? Either way, they're still a fantastic unit and a pretty decent screen as well. Now, moving forward, Pure Strain, Genestealers, and what their role is. Their role, once again, is also fast, cheap, easy to score secondaries, as well as into certain matchups, their melee can just eat units alive. Into Eldar or something like that, 20 attacks on 2s at 4-2-1, get out of here, right? Into guard, they'll go eat a 10-man. They're very, very good into light infantry. They have a 5-up invuln, which you can use to kind of just scam some interactions. I've used them and just like charged them into Dread Knights and just been like, you got 5-6 attacks, brother. You're gonna roll a 1 somewhere, and if I roll a 5-up, now my guys are alive and I've tagged you, right? It's very, very good in terms of like keeping them stuck there. Another thing as well is when you do return them from Cult Ambush, with them being 2 wounds, 5-up invuln, all that stuff, they don't die to the Overwatch. Unless it's like a Redeemer or something like that, they're not just gonna right? And so they're very good for a late game action secondary, anything like that. So very fast screen, they infiltrate. With advance and charge moving 8, it's something to where if your opponent doesn't have any good counter charges and you get that first turn, you absolutely can go run in, tag a rhino, maybe even like eat something kind of real, and just put them in your opponent's face, right? Move, block, all that fun stuff. So they're good for damage, but I think out of the three, they are the best for scoring in my mind. Now, that being said, the next one I'm going to talk about is the Atalan Jackals. The Atalan Jackals are better than Pures in terms of scoring because they are faster. They're more durable, kind of more durable. But the thing is that they're a little bit better at other stuff, so you want them geared towards that other stuff, if that makes sense. They scout 9, they move 12, and they're 12 wounds, right? It's 4 bikes that are 2 wounds and a quad that's 5 or 4. Sorry. Scout 9, move 12. Whenever you end a move, you throw essentially an amount of dice equal to the models left in the unit, and on every 4-up, you do a mortal wound. Now, how this also works is if your opponent doesn't see the start of the move, and they can only see the end of the move, then they can't overwatch you before you throw those mortals. The reason being is effectively, I believe the timing is to where ours would end first, and we throw the mortals, and then they decide if they're Overwatch. I've also heard that it happens at the same time, but even if it does happen at the same time, you are active player at that time. You can decide what happens first, and you go, I'm going to throw my mortals at you, and then you can Overwatch me, right? So you still throw 5 dice, and on 4-up steal mortal wounds. So you effectively have a mini grenade, right? Because the grenade stratagem, you're rolling 6 dice, the bikes you're rolling 5. Fun fact also, they just have the grenade keyword. So for one silly little CP, you can move Scout 9, move 12, deal 5d6, well, not 5d6, averaging 2.5 mortal wounds, and then you throw a grenade where you're averaging 3 mortal wounds, so you're dealing 5 to 6 mortals just for free, just for moving up the board and spending a CP. Very, very good. On top of that, they also just have a free mining laser. It's one of the few ones that hits on 4's base, and it's strength 12 still, unlike the Neophytes one, which is strength 10. So you're wounding a big knight on a 3. Now, with that being said, you hit on a 4, you wound on a 3, they have a 5-up invuln. A lot of areas where that math can just, it's one dice roll, right? A lot needs to happen for that to go through. That being said, it's on a 75-point unit that you're already fine with because it's 12 wounds with stealth that scouts 9, moves 12, does mortal wounds, has a grenade keyword to do even more mortal wounds. Like, I'm fine with 75 points there. And then you just have a free las cannon shot, right? A lot of times you're not going to do damage into them. You're just not. But there's going to be times where you go into your knight's opponent and you just go, here, take a, here's, 6 mortal wounds, and then, oh, take another 6 damage from this las cannon. Yeah, that was just 1 bike squad. Here's the other 2, by the way. It's very good. Now, if you go first, you're going to be putting your opponent in jail with these 2 units, the pure strains and the bikes. If you go second, they should be a bit more reactive in terms of trying to stop your opponent from moving up the board where they push up on their first turn. Does that make sense? Cool. In terms of the 3, I'm saying I value Flacos for damage. I'm saying I value pure strains for actions. And then I'd say I value bikes for move blocking, for screening, and for the mortals. It's a much more utility unit, right? They can be better at scoring than the pure strains. Yes and no. They don't have deep strike, so pures can get into areas that maybe the bikes can't. And with that being said, the pures can just deep strike on your turn. The bikes have to come in on your opponent's turn, right? So they're not the best at doing secondaries. Because pures, you know what your objectives are, and you just go, cool, great, I have behind, they're just going to drop behind. Whereas you have to come in with blips on bikes, they're normally just going to move up into the mid board and not have that turn to where, oh, I drew behind, but, my bikes were in the middle of things, and even if I move them all the way, I'm not going to get wholly within. It's a bit more awkward. Does that make sense? So I like them more as utility because they're still great screens. They do an amazing amount of mortal wounds, and it's just consistent damage. So I really like them for that, as just kind of a schmix between the damage that Flacos can provide and the utility that the Pures can provide. In most of my matchups, I'm looking to bring back a combination of these 3 units. That being said, there's a 4th one that I haven't really mentioned. I talked about the unit, I didn't talk about in terms of bringing it back. That's the neophyte hybrids. This is 6 resurgence points, and so it's going to be a very large, you know, chunk of what you're doing. You can't bring 2 of these squads back unless you're in Xeno Creed. And even I'm not crazy enough to make 160 bodies work. I'm kidding, I'm absolutely crazy enough to do that. That being said, I think in matchups to where your opponent can't handle the amount of bodies that you're trying to put in front of them, giving them just another 20 man that they're just going to only have the sustained when they come in, so they're not going to do the most reliable damage. However, it's still 40 OC, it's still 20 bodies, it's still a long unit that you can 6-inch deep strike to stop your opponent from running at you. It's a very good unit, and it's going to do a lot of very good things. It's just a big commitment. Is what it's going to give you more than what 3 bikes could give you, or a Flacco squad and 2 bikes, or 2 Flacco squads and some pures, right? You need to be able to measure out which is going to be more important to you in that game and what your opponent wants to see the least. Does that make sense? With time, you should be knowing and understanding what you want to bring back with resurgence points before the game even starts. I personally, when I see the pairings and I know, oh, I'm against Death Guard, oh, I'm against Thousand Suns, oh, it's Drukhari, oh, it's Space Marines, something like that, in my head, I already know what I'm going to be bringing back. That being said, I've talked to other Genestealer cult players, and they prefer other things than I do in terms of these matchups. I have started to favor bikes a lot more, and in matchups where they might not be the best, I still like to bring them, because I think the Mortals spiking can really help. It's a like risk reward type thing, right? To where Flaccos might be better because, oh, I'm into a trading army or something like that, and so they're just going to trade better. But I kind of like bikes a little bit more because they can spike just a bit more, right? So I digress though. What I am trying to say is that before the game even starts, you should know exactly what you're spending your points on and when you are spending the points. Do not get baited by your opponent. Do not let them try and like control what you're wanting to do and what you're trying to bring back, okay? You need to have the plan to beat them. If they're in the pilot seat on what you're bringing back, that's not a good spot to be in, right? I will pop in here real quick, by the way. I just want to have this in kind of the spot where we're talking about resurgence points and what to bring back and what things are useful to bring back. And one of the things I want to mention is that I think the most value that the units give, I think bikes give the most value. However, they have a very big downside in the fact that they come back slowly. It takes 2 battle rounds effectively for them to be back, if that makes sense. If my bikes die round 1, then on my opponent's turn, they come back, which means I use them on my 3. Does that make sense? Unless, of course, if they come back on 2, it would have to be my opponent goes first. They get sights on the bikes before the bikes do anything. Kill them. I bring them back. They come back at the top of my at the top of 2, and then I can use them on 2. But then they weren't effective the first time around. Generally, your bikes are wanting to die on your opponent's second turn, or first turn if you go first. They're going to be back by 3 is what I'm saying. And that can lead to scenarios to where on 2, you might have instead needed to have Flaccos or Pure Strains back, or, I mean, that's kind of it, but maybe even Neophytes, right? To where, oh, I bought 3 bike squads back, and now I don't have the points to buy Neos back, although those probably aren't going to be dead by that point anyways. I digress. What I'm trying to say is that is a very real note. If the game is going to be over by the bottom of 3 and it just needs to be decided right now, sometimes bikes aren't going to be the play. I like bringing them into like vehicle spam and big hulls because funny mining laser and all of the mortals, sure. But into something to where like it's like melee pressure and they are in your face right now, sometimes that the Flaccos are going to be what you need to run. So they're good, they're great. I think they do more damage than Flaccos, kind of. At least into things with very good saves, with like 2-ups. I think they're doing better damage. Into vehicles, I think they're doing more damage. and to anything not on a point, they're doing more damage. And then they're faster than pure strain, so they can do that damage kind of while also doing an action. I can move up 12 and, you know, get behind enemy lines and still throw grenades, so it's 11d6 on 4 ups you take mortals. I'm still doing damage while also, you know, maybe I had established locus and I'm in your deployment zone. Sure, right? Like, it doesn't... yes, I can do that, but also at the same time, they're very, very slow, and they're telegraphed on how they come back. So it's give and take. Cool, great, fantastic. Back to wherever I cut this in on. Okay, great, bye. So, moving forward, just to finish out the list, the thing that makes all of Genestealer cults even function as an army is, of course, the triple Ridge Runners. They give +1 AP, 2 of them are going to also strip cover from the units, and then 1 of them is going to be doing indirect on 4s, right? This unit is the thing that makes GSC tick. You have 2 that strip cover, and 1 that's going to be hitting on 4s with its indirect. Reason being is that when you come down, you're already getting ignores cover. Yes, I totally understand that. But outside of round 2 and round 3, you really have access to it that well? Not necessarily. And most good opponents aren't going to be shooting the Neo bricks and allowing them to go back up, right? So you're going to be on the ground. So in every other turn that your neophytes start the round on the board and thusly don't get sustained and ignores cover, well, you still need something to like help you with that. Because +1 AP is great, but then if everyone's in cover, hey, your autoguns still basically are no AP, right? So it's an effective +2 AP where it does matter. That being said as well, it's great for early game harassment to where I can tag something with a survey augur, and then now I have 2 reductive saboteurs to where their indirect can go into it at +1 AP and no cover. And then I have the 2 other spotters, or the 2 other Ridge Runners that can go into those things and pick them up. Very, very good for just harassing your opponent's chaff, which then makes them have to play the game with real units, right? And I think that's something that like GSC really excels at, is you want to strip away these. Here's the big thing, okay? Here's big lesson number 1, all right? Big lesson number 1. Hear these words and understand this is your game plan to start to get this army to work, okay? Cool, great. Kill their chaff so that they have to play the... I don't know. Why am I putting it over here? I'm not going to put letters over here. Kill their chaff so that they have to play the game with real units. Does that make sense? If you're going into Space Marines and their only scoring unit is like a squad of scouts and a squad of infiltrators, and everything else is like, here's land raiders and here's terminators and here's all these damage units and here's hellblasters and bikes and all this shit, go kill the scouts. Go kill the infiltrators. Make them have to put something real on their home point, and make them have to do actions with units that want to go charge and do damage, right? Because now what that is doing is, 1, it forces your opponent to have to come out. Almost every secondary in this game makes you have to walk out of your deployment zone, right? Outside of like recover assets or defend stronghold, but even then with recover, something has to be out, right? So your opponent has to walk forward to you. And the more forward they walk, the more exposed and out they are going to be. Cool, great, fantastic. Secondly, it's going to consume activations. If they do actually, you know, draw 2 action cards in a turn and they discard 1 and pick up another, and oh hey, it's a 3rd action card, 2 minimum activations are going to be considered to be turned off, right? So that's 2 things that aren't charging you, that aren't shooting you, yada yada yada. That, or they aren't able to do those actions easily in value, you know, attacking into you more, and so now their scoring is taking a hit. They're not getting those secondary points, and now that 100 is out the window, right? You're bringing their maximum score down. Make them play the game with real units, because then as they come out, that's something that your neophytes can eat, right? Your neophytes are your main damage source in this army. They need to get angles, they need to shoot stuff, and they need to kill stuff. Yes, they are durable. Yes, they are tanky because it's 20 bodies that can regenerate. Yes, you can do the dirty fallback stuff to where, you know, you keep it out and you're always able to activate on your turn. Yes, but you still need to kill your opponent. At the end of the day, you are a T3 body with 1 wound. They might not kill you in one activation, but if they're not dead by the end of turn 5, they've probably activated enough to where you are dead and you aren't playing the game anymore, right? So pull out their real stuff by killing all the little stuff. That way you can go kill the big stuff with your big stuff. Does that make sense? Cool, great, fantastic. A lot of times, if you were to have a list like GSC in a non-GSC army, it might struggle because it doesn't have, a lot of armies don't have the ability to go reach out and eat the small stuff, right? They don't have reliable ways to just go, oh, kill 3 of your scouts in this activation. Okay, go kill 1 more. All right, now the reductive saboteur is going to have to go kill 1 more. Bikes are going to go and they're going to go blow up 4 random intercessors and then charge it and kill the last guy. Cool, great, that's dead. Now you actually have to walk out with your aggressors and all the blade guard and blah 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 blah, right? It allows you to start the trading game in your favor, where you go, unless you walk at me, I'm just gonna start taxing you every turn with this indirect. But also at the same time, if you walk at me and it's round 2 onwards, you're gonna just die, right? So you pull your enemy out. Cool, great, fantastic. Now, let's talk about very important things like deployment. Okay, this is going to be going on in the next chapter. We've talked about resurgence points. We've talked about the fact that you should know what you want to do, right? We've talked about the role of every unit, and then we've talked about the general goal of what you should be aiming for early on. Okay, round 1, round 2 is when you're trying to clear the chaff. That way you can pull out the big stuff and go kill it, right? Cool, fantastic. Let's move on to deployment. Okay, so swapping over to TTS real quick, just to get this point down. I played against, or not really played against, I had a friend, we rolled off for deployment and we deployed around each other. What the Space Marine player did does not matter. Fact. Cool. This part we don't need to focus on. The only thing that mattered was these 5 scouts when they deployed, right? We rolled off. I got first deployment. I want to make sure that we don't have scouts over here blocking us from going into here, because I like to use this area to defend myself, right? To protect myself. So I went ahead and put 5 pure strains in this line right here. We are 9 from the front here, and it allows us to string this back to here so that if they want to set a guy right here, sure, you could maybe set like your combi lieutenant, but you're not going to do that, right? So you got these 5 guys right here. Now, he went and did basically the same thing, put scouts here, except he put scouts to where the front guy was able to, after 6 turns scouting, he would be right here. So the front of the base would have been like right here. Cool, great, fantastic. That then allowed me to go ahead and put these pures to be right over here. The reason I like this is that it stops them from really scouting forward that much in case they go first. There's a world where they can come out here a little bit more, but either way, they need to walk forward and do something to go deal with these pure strains, right? Now, hi, Editor Floof, coming in here real quick, talking about the Infiltrating War. I know I kind of, hold on, this is from later in the game, or later in the video. I'm from the future, so listen, hear me out, okay? One of the things is that you have a very strong combination that very few armies have in this game, and that is access to infiltrators and a redeploy. Those are insanely good to have together. The reason being is it's so non-committal. Now, in this deployment, these scouts are going to be here, right? They're obviously, they can scout back to where if my opponent goes first, or if I go first, my opponent just says, hi, these are right here, right? And they can be behind a wall. Cool, great, that's fantastic. You know, these guys can come up a bit. Sure, cool, great, fantastic. Well, these guys, now this is before first turn roll, but if you'll notice, I drop, in this scenario, I got first drop. And I wanted to secure this area, right? So I brought these these pure strains here. There's very little room between this corner and here. Maybe you can throw in the combi lieutenant, but you're not going to. I am 9 inches, maybe a little bit more from here, but basically making it to where there's no room between these two. And it looks like the nearest you can get is right about here-ish with your scouts. So you could totally have this lane right here. You could have the middle. Sure, go for it. Why this is important, okay? Search and Destroy is a very good map to show this on, because if your opponent also has infiltrators, you can kind of force where they go, okay? Now, if this was something like, let's see, Hammer and Anvil's good, Display of Might, let's go. Can I just get a tipping point? Can I just get a waffle? Sure. Ignore these. If I have first drop, I can bully my opponent's infiltrators by going, you don't want to put your scouts here. There's no way you want to put your scouts here because they're just going to die, right? But I can put my Genestealers right here if I get first drop. And what that's going to do is I'm actually going to move them to where they're within 9 of this point right here. Cool, great, fantastic. There's something like that. And then we go here, boom, bam, cool, great. What I'm doing is I am essentially allowing my opponent to infiltrate in this little area right here, but he can't start in here on this little thing. It's good for tipping point. It's good for hammer. It's just, it stops you from your opponent from getting minimal value, even like putting something right here, right? Into Tyranids, to where if they have lictors or death leapers, now they can't just, you know, hold this point right here, or have a guy come out and walk right here, or hold this for free with just like a 60 point lone op lictor, right? Now, my opponent for sure could then counteract and put Nurglings or scouts or whatever the hell, right, over here, and they stop me from also establishing here. I can't put a Saboteur here, right? I can't move her up into this location, right? Because they would have their infiltrates right here. However, when we finish deploying, I go, cool, I have a redeploy. These peers are going to come back, and they're going to go, who cares? My opponent won't, and their stuff will still be right here to deny me these things, right? So then maybe I even have, say those 5 pure strains that were from earlier, I'm just going to set right here. Great. Did I get first turn? Great. These guys are going to advance out, and they're going to go charge, and they're going to go eat whatever is right here. Their scouts can't do that, right? To where they can't redeploy, and then if I deploy these guys safely, they can't come and get me. So what I try and do, if I have first drop and my opponent also has infiltrators, I don't secure my little corner. I don't get where my guy wants to be. If I need to stop a shooting lane or something like that, in terms of like how Search and Destroy, I don't want them to come over down and blow me up, then for sure I will go ahead and go that way, and that's where I stop, right? That's where I stop my opponent from coming in. Outside of that though, I'm using my infiltrators not to buy me space, because I can figure that out later when I have redeploys. I'm bullying my opponent's infiltrators with the goal to have them start in their own deployment zone. I'm before turn 1, I'm buying myself as much space as possible. So Search is very funny because you can't do that on both things, because unless you have a 20-man neophyte squad infiltrating in Brood Surge, you're not blocking out everything here, right? But that being said, you can block out the important things like your Natural Expanse and the shooting lane, right? So this is a Repulsor Executioner. If this comes over here, this is really bad, right? I can make it to where he's going to get here at most, and I can have stuff hidden to where with the scouts, these guys, he's not going to be able to get an angle on him, and now he's a bit too deep and not getting the shots that he wants to. Cool, great, fantastic. I can also have it to where, hey, just the scouts aren't going to be over here and making my life hell to where I got to go invest something to go kill them, and then now they're getting killed by this Repulsor Executioner, right? However, over here, they're still going to be stuck here. They're still going to be stuck here, and I know you go floof, but like, that's their natural. Like, that's what they want to do, right? Yeah, but hear me out. Say they put the scouts here and they still have the Primaris Lieutenant. What I can do then is also then just go, hey, I'm just going to put these guys here. make it to where it's 18 between me and the other pure strain over here. And cool, you have the little 9-inch bubble of whatever you want from given to you by your scouts. They're ending up over here. I have bought my scouts the ability to go this way, the ability to go this way, this way. Just I've bought all of these lanes for my bikes to go. And then if I go first, I can still go up this way. I can still end 9 inches away from these scouts right here. So this lane isn't as blocked for me as they want. But I have bought this route and I bought this route. If this guy was right here, or maybe even like, oh, where are you? Cool. Let's say he's like right here with his reactive move, right? Cool. I can't realistically scout into here because the bubble that this guy gives, I'm moving to right here. Right? I have this lane. This is where bikes can go. Cool. That's kind of bad. I don't want that. And so that's why I put Pierce here. He can come over here. Now, great. I get an extra like 7 inches of move. I can come in here, and then with my 12-inch move, I can be over here. I can be move blocking. I can throw grenades and demo charges and like be in my opponent's face all I want. Does that make sense? You bully your opponent with the infiltrate. You redeploy to get your pure strains the hell out of there, and then you're good. You have bought yourself space even with that. Everything you need to do in this game with Swarmhost, you need to constantly be buying yourself space. If you go first, you need to use your scouts to buy yourself space. If you have first drop, you take those infiltrators and you put them in the most annoying spot as possible. If your opponent mirrors it, call their bluff. Call it. There also is worlds to where there's times in certain games where I don't mind just risking like 5 pures, because realistically, if I've got pures right here, right, and they're 9 inches away, and my opponent goes first, what realistically am I losing? I'm losing some guys, but I can put them back up into Cult Ambush. Sure, some melee unit could get out and munch them up and, you know, great, they're dead, and now I've got like melee guys on my home point, but bikes are here. Here's are here. Saboteur's here to throw a grenade. I can kill whatever comes in right here. However, if I also just go first, I go, hello. We would like to talk to you about your car insurance and how the fact that you're never allowed to leave your deployment zone ever again. Great, except this guy, but we don't talk about him. Right? We can tag these units even. We can charge them and just go, hello, we're in combat. Great. There's so much upside. That being said, if you take a risk, you also need to understand that half of that time, the risk is going to blow up in your face, right? So balance risk and reward a little bit, but if you want to be aggressive, I'm greedy. You kind of got to be greedy to win this game sometimes, so. Okay, that's it. That's all I want to talk about in the Infiltrator Wars. Bye, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the 1.5 hour long video. Bye. That's it for the Infiltrate Wars, right? Some stuff goes around here, but essentially how we have deployed now is I have it to where if I go first, I can very aggressively move up at least 2 squads of bikes, right? These guys can go 9, just right to here. Cool, great, fantastic. They're all having fun and coming in over here. Cool, great. These guys, these bikes, they come in. Yes, I know the wall exists right there, so this one guy's going to be a little funny, and then this quad's probably like right here, right? Cool, great. They scout to right there, although actually because of the scout, we're actually probably going to be a little bit further back, so we're something like this. Cool. Perfect. Now, the position, oh, I'll also say, before anything happens, when we're done deploying here, we don't leave these 5 pures here. Now, one reason being you might be thinking is, oh, hey, you know, if my opponent goes first, they can kill this very easily, right? Well, yes, that, but also at the same time, hey, they're starting on this big old disc right here. You want to know why this disc is important? 1, it's for storm hostile, and 2, for overwhelming force. If my opponent gets overwhelming force, this is now a free target, right? So when we redeploy, we throw them right back here, and we just go something like this. Doesn't really matter super much. We can maybe even like have it to where the Saboteur comes here and we like wrap her in case they have like a fast melee unit, and we can just be like, okay, you're not gonna touch the Sabo, right? Cool, great, fantastic. These bikes can scout this way, maybe even come up a little bit. I don't want to find out the 9, but they can move into here, and effectively I'm probably going to put them somewhere right here on my first turn, right? Now, if I'm going first, what I'm more than likely going to do is use these 3 squads to block my opponent as much as possible. If we're going 12, we can go somewhere like this, right here. Go 11 with you because I turned you. Cool. Something like that. Now, anything in here that I can draw a line of within 6 can get demo runned. Anything in here can get demo run. Anything right here can get demo runned. Same thing with these bikes. We can now move them 12 to right here. 12 will get homeboy, like, let's say right there. Boom. Just say 11 for you. 3. And 9. Cool. That repulsor executioner that we saw, that's right here. Cool. That's going to take a bunch of mortals. It's also going to take 2 mining laser shots to the face for free, right? And so now we have it to where we have this big line right here with just the bikes if we want it. With movements as well, we can do advances to make sure the screen's even better. But we've bought ourselves this massive blob of space right here to where we might not even need the pure strains to go do what they need to go do, right? There's totally a world to where we can roll an advance. Maybe we get the 6. We're right here and we're charging whatever our opponent doesn't want to get charged, right? But either way, we are doing damage in here. Maybe with those scouts that were right here, these guys go advance, they land somewhere like right here, they make a charge and they go eat the scouts alive. Cool, great, that's totally fine. However, all that I care about is we have this screen. We have now stopped our opponent from being able to effectively move up the board. I might even with this squad right here, if I have a good grenade into something over here, I might just advance this squad so that I can bring this over. Cool. Oh, I guess I could do this. To where I bring this over here and make it to where I'm effectively trying to stop my opponent. And all I would need is like a 1 or a 2 on the advance to really get all the things in here. Now it turns off the little bit of shooting that you do have, but the reason why it's good is that you effectively just put this Saboteur right here and make it where anywhere that is within an inch of these bikes is where they would need to be within 12 of the Reductus Saboteur. She can walk over here with 6-inch movement. She's more than likely getting somewhere like right here, but either way, you can just put her on right here, right? So we have now set up this nice screen right here to where our opponent can't come here. We've got some annoying stuff to contest this objective. We are giving them the chance of overwhelming with this bike squad being here, but I'm more than fine with that, to be honest. Now, we have all this set up. Here, now is the time to where I'm able to be like, hello, yes, I would like to establish and develop these 2 units onto this. Have fun trying to answer and deal with this, right? If there's a world to where my opponent does have fast melee right here, maybe when I scout these bikes up here, they instead go and they make a wall right here, and we're sacrificing them. But for right now, I just like to say in a general sense, what you want to try and do is have it to where these guys are your second round, along with maybe even these pure strains, right? So in this instance, we're going to save these guys and we're going to save these guys. Now, how all this stuff plays out in here is that I can scout this up 9, and then with the 12-inch move, I can make sure that it's securely over here. I like to spread out my Ridge Runners just a little bit, just to help more effectively screen, like in here. Cool. There's a 12.8-inch bubble here. If I make this just flat 12, now nothing can 6-inch deep strike right in here. As well as, oh, well, you'd be able to get a 6-inch right there, but I'm not super worried about that. Maybe we put you right here. Maybe put you right here. You can get like I don't even think you can get an angle right there, but I digress. Here's a big thing. If you notice, both of these neophyte squads are down. You might go, Floof, why are you doing this? The detachment rule makes it seem like we really want to be up in reserves and come in from reserves and get a bunch of bonuses that way. And I say, quit being dumb. Okay? Now, if our opponent doesn't have a fast army, or with their deployment, if they deployed like very far back, or just, you get the vibes that they're not going to run at you, then there's totally a world to where with one of your redeploys, these guys go bye-bye and they go up into the air, right? They can go away. I don't think that they should. And in fact, in most games, I do like to have 2 down on the ground, but having a 3rd one up is obviously still very good, right? Teleporting guns, very good in 10th edition. Now, we're going to set them right here and say we had this redeploy. This is my first turn, right? I'm in this position. I'm able to score most secondaries outside of like effective kill secondaries. But even then, you know, with this saboteur here, we can do some mortars into general stuff right in here. These mortars can go tag it as well, to where now if they have like a scouts or some intercessors or 5 JPI or something in that, to where 4 mortars aren't necessarily going to like for sure kill them, but it's going to hurt. It's going to kill 2, maybe 3 guys. And if it spikes, absolutely you could kill them. But then even then, if you just kill like 2, maybe even 3, now that unit can't go run at the reductive saboteur, right? Because if it lands within 9, it's taking minimum 4 mortal wounds, and the unit is more than likely just dead at that point. But if not, you've at least lost 2, maybe even 3 guys, and then I can say, hey, if you charge me, you're taking D3 or flat 3 mortal wounds, right? You're protecting the saboteur by saying, whatever can fly over this, I'm going to start shooting with mortars, so that if they do want to charge me, they're going to take her mine, and then they're also going to take that charge stratagem to the face. So we have effectively blocked off our opponent. Now, if you'll notice, I didn't use the pure strains to like go block off here, and I'm not using the bikes to effectively block off here, right? The reason that is because I still want my opponent to move out. I still want them to have to deal with stuff, right? And if they're dealing with bikes, they're somewhere right in here, they're somewhere right in here, or they're somewhere right in here, maybe even right here. And if you'll notice, all of these angles, right here, right here, right here, I have access to seeing from here, from here, from here. So if they come out, God forbid they're a melee army and they have to charge the bikes, and then they're just out here, right? They are now out in the open. They're going to get shot from this direction, from this direction. They're going to be shot from mid. They're going to be shot from their own natural expanse, right? They're going into GSC turn 2 while being out, and that is the last thing that they want to do. But they have to take this turn to kill this stuff, right? Otherwise, they're just never going to get out, right? So, learn what directions you need to sacrifice your units to stop movement from, okay? If my opponent is playing knights, maybe I have it to where I don't come up as far. In fact, I just have the bikes back just enough to where wherever they would be, like if my opponent has a knight that moves 10, I'm having it to where that 10 inches from the back of the base ends within an inch of the bike, so they can't walk over my bikes. Does that make sense? Cool, great, fantastic. But regardless, I'm still sacrificing these bikes by stopping my opponent from coming in this direction, from staging in here realistically, and then from moving up this way. They can come this way. That's fine. I can drop guns right here and I can shoot them. They can charge me and try and take this center point, and you know, maybe they get 2 guys on there and the reductive saboteur no longer holds it. Sure, totally fine. I can shoot from this point. They can even walk up this way and go put something right here, or I don't know why, but maybe they want to put something right in here. Guns. Right? I am putting stuff out to where I can go shoot them. Now, that being said, if they only put a few things out, right? I'm still having it to where I'm threatening damage. I have staged these neophytes into this location. The reason being is that all of these heavy weapons right here are able to pop out on this side of the wall. And if they're able to pop out on this side of the wall, they can see and shoot onto this point, and they for sure can help clear whatever is on the middle point, right? As well, if my opponent puts something here and is able to effectively charge and kill the saboteur, my reaction is I can choose whether it's the pure strains, whether it's the bikes, or even whether it's these 5 flacos that just hop out and go, we're going to move 6 inches. We're going to flame whatever on this point, right? Maybe only 2 guys can flame like anything on the back of the point, but realistically, if you're on the point, you're over here, right? So everything is going to be able to flame, and then, hey, maybe we even hit a charge, and we get onto this, and now we're tearing it up even more, right? Cool. But I'm setting up layers of defense. I am thinking ahead of the game. I'm not thinking, oh, I need to go figure out what this turn is and how to do that. What I'm trying to do, okay, let's go back to Big Me real quick. What I'm trying to do is I am trying to control the game from the get-go. I want what I think turn 2 is going to look like, what turn 3 is going to look like, and turn 4 what it's going to look like. I want to start shaping those from round 1, from deployment, from my scout moves, from redeployment. You need to find what it looks like when your army wins, what turn 4 looks like in a winning position, what turn 5 looks like in a winning position, and then backtrack. How do I get there, right? In what way? What do I need to kill? What do I need to stop? And what can I allow? What does my opponent want to do that I can let them do because it's going to help me? And then what is my opponent trying to do that I don't want them to do because it's only going to help them, right? Example. Once again, with this screen, I haven't screened out everything, right? Once again, I've left a chunk here. If they're a melee army, they can for sure charge, get through here, fit a guy here, and then consolidate onto this point. If they charge, for sure, there's a world to where they can charge and then move back on the point, although you have to move closer, so that doesn't happen, but I digress. They can get out this way. Maybe they have a fast melee unit and they're able to go here and go touch these pure strains, right? That's fine. They're ending in areas that I want them to be, right? So if they charge and kill my pure strains, well, if they want to consolidate, they have to get on this point. And right here, if you'll notice, you can't hold the point from the other sides of the wall, which means they have to go right here, which means they're going to be somewhere in this area. And you want to know what that what really likes that? These 5 echoes to where they go, cool, thank you for doing this. We're going to walk out 6 and we're right here where you are. We're going to flame you and we're going to charge you. Okay, so like I was saying, these guys come out and they react to it, right? I have set it up to where however my opponent moves and reacts to this turn, I have options, right? If they walk out and they put something right here that kills the bikes, if they walk out and have something that kills the bikes and they're right up in here, or they're staged right here, right? If my opponent has like a greater demon or something like that, and maybe they have it to where, you know, they put like a little something right here to where I can't get shots on it realistically, these bikes come out here and they're gonna screen. Okay, they can walk over here 12 if I advance, and let's just say I get the 3. Cool, now my screen is gonna go over here, boom, bam. Maybe even have this guy walk up here with that 14 so that we can throw mortals into something that's over here and maybe get a cute angle, right, to where this goes into here. Who knows? Or maybe it's just I have it to where the bikes are like this and fully stop any type of movement this way, so I continue to score this point, right? I have a reaction to where if they come out here, these pure strains, if something is right here, these guys can go walk in right here, stop this. They can go continue to walk and move block this area, right? I'm able to react to what my opponent does. Even if they touch either these bikes, the pure strains, or my reductus saboteur, if they're able to do that, these acolytes can respond and go eat. These pure strains can go respond to it. Even this saboteur, if something ends up right here, there's a world to where she just walks her 6, and hey, grenade basically hits this entire pocket, right? To where if you'll notice, within 8, you have to be basically in the terrain for her to not hit you with a grenade. So you have to be where the bikes are, right? So you have to be pretty far. If you come forward past this to go deal with these bikes that were right in this little pocket, if you handle this, she comes out and goes, hello, take a grenade to the face, and then if you're still within 8 of me, take a demo charge, right? Like, she reacts. These pure strains, go and react and kill this. Cool, great, fantastic. These neophytes, seismic, mining laser. Well, that's not a mining laser, but you know what I mean. These all come out to where they're going, hello, we would like to shoot you. And this is all before I even drop, right? I still have all of this that can come down and shoot anything I want. All of it. Great. That's good, right? So we have done it to where I am trying to buy space on my turn 1. If my opponent goes first, yes, I can't effectively work up those screens, but what I'm going to then try and do is have the bikes scout to where they're able on my turn 1 stop my opponent's further movement. Wherever my opponent goes, I want them to sit there for their turn 2, right? Does that make sense? So I am going to buy myself a round. I'm going to buy myself a turn. That's all I need to do. If you are playing Swarmhost, your goal is to get to this fun little part in the game that says Battle Round 2. Does that make sense? And when you get to Battle Round 2, you're going to do this great thing, okay? I'm going to open up this. Power this up a little bit more. See this? This is what your opponent should look like because you are hitting them with the force of a fucking sun. Great. I hope that was as terrifying. I did that? Hold on. Really showed off how yellow my fucking teeth are. Brush your teeth, kids. Anyways, when you get to round 2, what you have tried to do and tried to bait out with deployment, with scouts, with your first turn, is that you were trying to pull your opponent out. You're trying to kill their chaff so that the chaff isn't the things being pulled out. My opponent is throwing mandrakes and little 5-mans at me and I don't care. I want the big stuff. I need the big stuff. Give me the big stuff. I'm a hungry man. I want to eat. I want to eat big stuff, okay? Big burger. I'm American. Fucking ultra size that shit, okay? If you go first, then play the game as per normal. To where what I like to do is I like to drop one, if I have redeployed the second neophyte squad up, 2 neophyte squads, okay? And I am trying to do as much damage while still buying myself board presence. Nowadays, I don't do the 6-inch deep strike to move block as much because a 6-inch deep strike isn't going to stop nearly as much movement as a 3-inch. And I know that sounds a little weird, but let me show you like my thought process behind that. Does that make sense? Cool, great, fantastic. I'm pulling from an older example that I had written up about like deployment and all that. I'm pretty sure you guys have probably seen this video. I think I put it out. I don't fully remember. I'm sorry, chat. I don't fully remember. But let's just say we have move blocked some stuff and we have war dogs out. Now, watch as I show you that 6 inches is more inches than 3 inches, and that's bad, right? Now, hear me out here. Let's just pretend I didn't do this against Chaos Knights that would have the fucking thing to where you can, you know, poof through models. Just know that this can be any enemy fucking army. I'm just lazy and don't want to set up against like orcs or something like that, okay? This is 3 inches. Now, if you'll notice, I can very easily set it up to where, yes, you're able to get onto the points after charging, but you're still going to be in this relative area, right? You're still going to be on this line. If you get onto the point and you charge me and all that stuff, you're still going to be over here, and I've bought myself the angles to be over here. I've allowed myself to be right here and still shoot and deal with you, right? Cool, great, fantastic. Now, imagine, if you will, I have to move back 6 inches or 3 inches. Why are you blue? First off, one of the things is that angles can get a lot tighter in terms of what weapons can actually see you, if that makes sense. Where I might have to deploy things at tighter angles that can't fully see you, just so that I am able to maintain that 6-inch screen, right? I believe these were back. Let's find the 3 to where, cool, they're like this. Cool. So, if you'll notice, what this allows my opponent to do is now they can have it to where maybe even this brigand is further back and this carnivore can walk up. These guys can walk up and go deal with it. And then these guys back here can still get shots. And if you'll notice, these guys are going to be much further up ahead than I want them to be. So that when they kill this screen, maybe they don't even kill it. Maybe they shoot it and it goes back up, right? That's not the point that matters right now. What matters is it allows them to walk up further and continue to screen me further back. If you'll notice, with this guy being right here, I now have to drop right here on my next turn if I want to, without using any strats. If I had to 6-inch deep strike, I am still now off the point, right? Versus that 3-inch, this guy would be 3 inches further back. He's not on the point. I wouldn't be able to naturally deep strike onto it, but hey, look at that, 3 inches is right there. I can come and drop neophytes right here on next turn, right? Same thing here. This guy is now far enough onto this point to where I can't drop back on and take it with primary, right? I like 6-inch. I like 6 inches, okay? It's modest. Not everyone, listen, 8 inches is overhyped, okay? Fellas, I'm telling you, 6 is more than fine. It's gonna be great. You're gonna be okay. 9 is too much. We're talking about deep strikes, right? Oh, mother of God, the stretch, Jesus. That was weird. Okay, so the thing is that I'm not the biggest fan of 6-inch deep striking to move block because there's a world to where it's not as effective. With your opponent being able to move up those extra 3 inches, there's a world to where they can get around you in tighter angles to where here. Another very good point is, like, say this carnivore is right here, right? And we've got stuff further back. If I want a 3-inch and just be like this, and let's say I have other stuff to do to where I want big guns to, you know, go be over here and shoot stuff. Cool, so I need these idiots to be right here. I can more effectively wrap this guy and stop him from, like, even coming in over here, right? To where to get around me, he has to use more movement to go around this way. Versus if I was a 6, now this angle becomes a bit tighter because these guys also are over here. And now he can go, oh, hey, I want to be over here. Cool. And now I can charge and be over here, right? The 3-inch was obviously oppressive and GW overprinted it. And I'll never forgive Aquilans for taking 3-inch deep strike away from me. But when it was just us that was doing it, and it was totally fine when we could do it. It's not just the wall you put in front of your opponent. You have to think about the edge of the wall as well. You can walk around a fence, but how long that fence is, like, the further away the fence is, if this makes sense, to where if it's right in front of me, I have to, like, cut this way a lot more than if I'm right here and I can just start to cut this way, right? I'm going to be saving a lot more movement because my opponent's further away and I can just get around them that way. Does that make sense? I hope this is making sense. To where if the screen is absolute, then it doesn't realistically matter. You're losing 3 inches when your opponent moves up to you and your screen gets pushed back an additional 3 versus the 3-inch deep strike. Yes. But outside of that, if the screen is complete, there's no differences. However, if your opponent is able to use the edges of that screen, there's a world to where you've done more harm for yourself than good, right? So be very careful when you do try and use the 6-inch deep strike to fully screen your opponent. I've used it to where, like, I have fully wrapped a vehicle that's just off in no man's land by itself. It's a battle wagon with a bunch of boys inside, and I go, cool, here is a bubble around you. You are staying in this fucking truck, and if you get out, you'll kill 20 neophytes. Good for you, you'll die next turn, right? But with that being said, I like to use the 6-inch to get angles more often now. Another big thing as well is before, if your opponent didn't set something right here to screen this out, like if they're right here, 3 inches allows you to put some stuff here and take this point, right? Versus now, with a 6 inch, you're not doing this. The only way you do that is if your opponent is like this, right? You have to be just up to here to stop a 6 inch. Like, this isn't that big of a commitment. Your opponent can be like right here and then effectively stop like a good 6 inch. And even this, like, what, you'll fit 1, maybe 2 models on here. You're not stealing it from a war dog, right? Unless you kill that war dog, but then, hey, you were going to kill it anyways, right? So your opponent doesn't need to be out in the middle on the point. He can put a little, maybe even a Nurgling right here. And then now that screens out the 6, right? So I have been using the 6 inch more for damage than for movement blocking recently. And something that's like helped mitigate that has been the bikes, to be honest. Because the bikes can still run up and be an inch away from your opponent with 12-inch move, especially with Scout 9 in the first turn, but my bikes are going to die round 1, and so I'm probably going to be buying 1 or 2 bikes that are going to effectively then come back for me on my turn 3, if that makes sense. If they're dying on my opponent's first turn, then they're going to come back on my opponent's second turn, which means on my third turn, I will then be able to use them, right? And I can use them for a screen then. So, once again, that's kind of why I'm talking. I want the 2 bike squads to go forward. That way, on turn 2, I have another squad to use to move block, another wave, and then on turn 3, I have the bikes coming back in from Cult Ambush. Notice how I'm having these waves come in to where first turn it's 2 bikes to move block, and then round 2 it's some bikes and some pure strains to move block and be annoying, and then round 3 it's stuff coming from Cult Ambush that is continuing this move block, that's stopping my opponent, and it's just constantly like E-Honda just doing little palm strikes. They might not be the most devastating thing in the world, but it's just annoying enough that it gets your opponent off balance, that when you hit them with that haymaker, of the 20 neophytes with sustained lethal crit 5s plus 1 AP, no cover, get the fuck off my board, that is what ends the game, right? That is what is stopping your opponent from effectively being able to win and play the game at all. So, another thing, let's go back to Bay Marines. Let's go back to that Bay Marine board. I'm not, by the way, if you go, why would a Space Marine player ever deploy like this or anything like that? We're not doing that. Okay, we're not having a realistic game. I'm just going to show a bunch of different scenarios that you might find yourself in. Don't look at the macro. We're talking about the micro in this instance, okay? Let's say we have a moment to where in our game we go, hello, I have 20 neophytes here, and I have dropped them down, and I have killed something. That guy did a kickflip. It was really cool. His name is Jerry. Well, Jerry's squad might notice that on their turn, a Spade Marine player goes, hello, I have this Repulsor Executioner, and it would like to shoot you. And I go, uh-oh, that's bad. Now, say this Repulsor Executioner is here, and this Storm Speed Hammer Strike is here, right? And we got all this stuff, and oh, hey, even a second Repulsor Executioner. This squad is going to die, right? And he goes, cool, I'm going to do Hammer Strike first, and I'm going to shoot you. First off, as your opponent, go, hey, buddy, just a reminder, I have Return to Shadows. I don't want to gotcha. I don't want to win off of that. I'll let you know, if you're going to shoot the neophytes, it's probably good. You probably want it to be with the biggest activation you have. If you want to chip at them and try and bait out the Return to Shadows, or see if I'm not going to use it or anything like that, totally. But don't be a dick to your opponent, is what I'm trying to say. Moving forward. Now, my opponent activates, and they go, this Repulsor Executioner activates, and they go like, I kill all of these guys. Cool, great. Well, I go, cool, I'm going to use Return to Shadows, and I'm going to pick this squad up, and I'm going to leave. Because my Saboteur is right here. You realistically don't have any charges on to that point. I'm still going to hold it, and I'm going to be able to regenerate 3 guys on my command phase. And I now have this unit that can drop down with all of its heavies, with sustain and lethal yet again, and refresh itself. Now, let's look at an example to where maybe I don't do that, right? Maybe Jerry's unit stays down. And you go, Floof, why would Jerry's unit stay down? Well, board position is very good to have in a game. say this came over here and this is over here and this repulsor's right here, okay? And Jerry's unit is sitting here and this repulsor activates and you have this many guys left, right? You just have these 5. If you'll notice, that's the only thing that can shoot those neophytes that we care about, right? And there's maybe a charge here, or no, there's not. There's a cool outside of 12, right? In this world, I don't pick up. And the reason I don't pick up is because I can regenerate. I regenerate D3 plus 3. Let's roll a dice real quick. Roll that dice. Cool, I regenerated 5 guys. Oh, we're gonna pick these 3 for sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cool, great. Hey, look at that. We have all of our stuff. We're missing a mining laser. Where the frick is our mining laser? Oh, he's over here. Get out of here. Cool. I have put 5 guys onto this point. Now, because of that, if you'll notice, 5, 10. I can still battle shock, right? Because I'm 10 out of 21. Sure. But that doesn't super matter. The Saboteur is still here. I will still hold the point. And because neophytes are on a point I control, they're still going to sticky it whether or not they battle shock. Cool, great, fantastic. So I'm going to hold this point. And this repulsor is right here. So this funny little Ridge Runner is going to go, hello, friend, I would like to shoot you. I'm going to give you +1 AP and no cover. And then this unit that has sat here and regenerated and has the heavy bonus is going to have these mining lasers hit on 4s with lethal 5s. These seismics hit on 4s with lethal, not lethal 5s. You could crit 5s, sure. But with lethals, the Benefactress is on 3s. Unfortunately, she doesn't have lethal or heavy with her brain, even though it's a very heavy brain. That looks like it's very heavy. That's all I'm saying. But you have all of these guns here. You can just sit here and hit this repulsor, right? There's a world to where, hey, maybe the Saboteur isn't here and this kind of whiffed and it killed me down to like 8. Well, minimum I'm getting back is 4. So I'm gonna, no matter what, I'm gonna regenerate to where I'm at 11 or more, right? So then I don't need to battle shock. So I will just hold this point. So actually I am gonna stay down, right? There's worlds to where you don't want to return to shadows. The only time that I would honestly sacrifice 4 or 5 primary and to return a squad up is if it's the Primus squad. If I drop Primi, if I'm putting him on a point, I generally want to put him on a point that something else is on. So like the Saboteur here. But in a world to where the Primus is here and the Saboteur is off, my opponent goes, I really don't want to shoot the Primus squad because then they go back up, they re-get sustain, they re-get lethals. You know, it's very rough for me. But I want to affect the GSC player's primary. He shoots, he kills a bunch of guys. Maybe he kills me down to just this guy and the 2 characters. Sure. With this, I'm still going up. I'm still 100% pulling, right? I pull up, I regenerate the 3 heavies in my command phase. Maybe I even wait a turn to, you know, drop down or something like that. But the Primus squad is important enough with the damage that it can do that so long as the banner lives, you generally kind of want to pick him up. Okay? Now, other scenarios that you might see yourself to where you want to return to shadows is in mixed arms lists, to where if your opponent is trying to shoot a unit just to weaken it for something else to charge in, you want to pick up. However, in my experience, generally there's not a lot of things that can just one tap a neophyte squad, and so your opponent would have to reveal a couple things to be able to clear one neophyte squad. So here's the do's and do nots of Return to Shadows. If you have more than 1 or 2 neophyte squads out and shown in front of your opponent, you are going to lose so many resources. It's insane. I'll show you a visual in a second. The times that Return to Shadows are at its best is when your opponent can realistically only get angles on 1 or 2 squads at most. Okay? And even then, you don't have to go up immediately. You can tank a couple shots and then eat a second activation, and then you go up because you're saving that activation from going into the neophyte squad that's left behind, right? There's a world to where you can play that balance. I've gone up on the 3rd time after something shot me, and my opponent's like, you have like 8 guys left. Why did you do that? I go, okay, well, you only have one thing that can shoot the other 20 man. Now nothing's gonna like affect them. I don't care what goes into that 20 man. They're on the point. I have killed 10 guys in my neophyte squad, sure, but I've effectively saved like 7 to 8 from the other one, right? So let them see as many 5-man little idiot squads as they want. But if you're going against a gunline army, you genuinely only really want to let them see 1 or 2 neophyte squads. Does that make sense? A very good example could be, let's just reset the Space Marine one real quick. If I go here, right, and I have my turn, we're just going to set up this objective real quick to where maybe they put that there, they ran this up, this stuff was all in here for whatever reason. It doesn't matter what came out, but let's say I was very dumb and on my turn, I dropped this neophyte squad to here to kill this stuff. I dropped, I know it's not dropped, but let's say these guys came in from reserve, they dropped here and dealt with this, and then the Primus squad came in and dropped and dealt with this, right? Cool. Whoop. That's gone. These are gone. This is gone. Maybe even the stuff inside is gone, right? However, my opponent can now go hello, and maybe they have another shooting unit. I don't know what Space Marines do, man. Maybe all this stuff comes out and goes hello, right? And we've got some melee stuff. Who gives a heck? What I'm trying to point out is that I have 3 squads that are going to get shot at, okay? If they get shot at, we're in a bad spot because I can save one, sure. This squad goes up after it gets punched to almighty hell, right? We lose a massive chunk. Cool. Now my opponent activates again. All of this stuff, dead. Cool, great, fantastic, because say there was another shooting thing here. We can pretend this is guard. It doesn't super matter. What I'm trying to get at is to show you. I can't save anything from these guys, from their shooting. Cool, this whole squad is dead, right? It doesn't matter what little guys I have now. I don't have a realistic punch now to go eat this big stuff. Sure, I can do some mortal wounds and maybe chip it down over time, but it doesn't super matter, right? All of my damage, instead of just losing this squad right here, I've now lost 2 squads that give lethal hits and have a bunch of las cannon hits, and I've lost this much versus just losing this much, right? Return to Shadows works when you are making it to where your opponent only has 1 or 2 real activations into 1 or 2 bricks. I'm fine sacrificing 1 of 2 neophyte squads that are shown, right? I'm fine doing that because that is sure, right? If I lose 25% of my neos, maybe I buy them back. The game plays a little bit differently. It doesn't super matter. But if I lose half or more of my neophytes because I'm trying to bait out the Return to Shadows and bait out their shooting and all this type of stuff, and I just get too cute with it, there's a world to where I just get blown out, right? And you can immediately lose the game with that. Now, let's talk about things that can make it to where you do have it, like how I hear like floof. How do I stop my opponent then from going and just getting all the angles on shooting my neophytes? Well, that's what the 5-mans are for, right? So let's say we have it to, I'm setting up a little situation here in TTS. Let's cut to where I can get something going, right? I think this should be good enough. And hear me out here, okay? Let's say shit has gotten weird. I put these bikes up forward on my turn. These assault intercessors went and cleared them off, and he set the impulsor here. We then had Calgar walk up to the front. This repulsor chilled right here, and this hammer strike went ahead and said, oh, I got Storm. I'm going to go take Storm, and I'm going to put this guy on here. Cool, great, fantastic. So I have my movement. I'm going to drop these guys right here, and I'm probably going to 6-inch. That way, 1, I deny this primary right here. 2, what I am then going to do is with these pure strains, I'm either going to decide that I'm going to kill these assault intercessors or I'm going to kill this impulsor. Probably both if I want to drop some neophytes right here. Okay, so let's say I get a 3, so I'm got an 11 on the advance. I also am just picking a 3 just because it's the best way to just average stuff out, right? Cool. We have put an amount of pure strains right here. If we want, we can make it to where I string this way and keep this screen up. It doesn't super matter that much. But one thing I'm going to do, and this is going to go into the point I'm trying to make, to stop people from getting access to multiple units with your Return to Shadows, you need to use your little stuff to run past the enemy unit, okay? Now, in here, I can't realistically do that, but also we don't need to because there isn't like a big gun right here, right? However, here we can. We can have it to where this Jackal squad goes up 12 like this, and they're going to start to move block into here to where I'm stopping this Repulsor Executioner from coming into here, right? We can set these bikes like this. With an advance, we can also go a little bit further, but I'm also of the mind to where we could go, hey, I'm just going to charge you. And I'm going to hold you back even more over here and give you that -1 to hit, right? And then when we do that, this Neophyte squad, we can drop in right here, okay? Let's say we drop them in. I'm not going to spend too long finding where 9 is, but somewhere in right here. And what we are trying to do with these bikes is to make sure that this repulsor doesn't have an angle onto this over here, okay? And then we go, cool, great. These neophytes are going to shoot, and this is going to die. Cool, great, fantastic. Calgar, I'm going to drop another squad, and then I'm going to do what I can to kill Calgar's unit. I'm going to pretend that because this isn't round 4 at LVO, or semifinals at LVO, top 4, that I can kill Calgar's unit because I hate Calgar, and why did he have to do that to me? I'm just sad. And I've got neophytes right here to go kill and deal with this. Now, over here, I can drop, let's say these guys were up. My 3rd neophyte squad. Cool, great, fantastic. It drops in and is right here. Great, that's awesome. It's going to go maybe kill these assault intercessors and pop this impulsor, okay? If it pops the impulsor, cool. These little blade guard guys, they're gonna get out and they're gonna be with their Judiciar and they're gonna be like, cool, please charges, we want you to do that. Cool, great, fantastic. I'm not going to move. I'm not going to charge this squad. 1, because that gives fights. I think it gives. I couldn't care to start to learn what Space Marine stuff does. But what I'm trying to do is here, I'm going to try and stop melee as much as I can. If they walk forward and they shoot me, or they are able to get around and do some charge stuff and get into me, sure, fine, whatever. But it's still something to where I'm making it annoying. Here, I'm making it to where even if I don't kill Calgar's squad, there's still something here stopping him from it, as well as a decent flamer Overwatch. He should die here, right? But if you'll notice, with this here, this repulsor can't, especially if we like come in over here with the charge and make it to where like even if he tried to, you know, just take the desperate and fall back over me and shoot, he can't fit over here, right? So that's what we're going to try and make happen with these bikes moving here. Now, this repulsor can come out here. If you'll notice, we have made it to where my opponent's real shooting can't get this squad, and it can't get this squad, right? It can only realistically get here. But let's say, you know, these guys die. This activates. Something needs to go into the acolytes, and it's probably going to be on the 2nd activation. We're probably going to have the 1st activation go into the neophytes over here. You're going to eat an amount of them, but if they live, this is where you return to shadows and you go away, okay? And then the rest of the activations, they can kill the bikes, it doesn't super matter. They can kill the acolytes, it doesn't super matter. what I have allowed myself to be able to do is now, let's say these guys come in, charge and eat these guys. They're right here. Let's say we were a little smart and made it to where you can't touch me. Cool, great. You killed all the pures. On my turn, all of this stuff is right here and can shoot here. I can walk up with this unit because it still exists, and I can shoot to death these guys and then maybe go for a fun little charge on the scouts, right? These guys can walk around and maybe I get a nice little angle on a repulsor. Who knows? Probably not from there, but either way, I can start to stage and move up. I can have the Primus squad drop here and shoot in and blow this stuff up while, you know, acolytes come down here. I have resources, right? I can do things. Versus if I didn't have these bikes here, this repulsor could come over here. As this one comes out here, it damages these neophytes, sure. So these pick up, but now this one is just going to reduce this to nothing, right? What it is allowing our opponent to do by stopping this is it goes, hey, you're going to kill one thing, right? And if you happen to whiff, it's going to go to Return to Shadows, right? But if it doesn't, I can pick up this one squad, right? With Oath of Moment, it's more than likely dead. But without it, or if it just happens to be, you know, the player whiffs, rolls a bunch of 1s and 2s to wound or anything like that, or I spike on saves with go to ground or whatever the hell, if that unit lives, I now can Return to Shadows and I save that unit. But then also, let's say this guy activates and he rolls hot. This can just kill this unit and they're gone and they're dead, right? That's really bad. That's why we have these bikes come here and tag and do what they can to where this guy can't fall back over and shoot and do all of his stuff, to where he can't get this angle over here, where this guy doesn't have the ability to, you know, maybe he goes and advances and gets right here and shoots this unit, right? He's able to get angles on one at a time, right? If he goes here, then this repulsor, it's going to see here, sure, but it's going to be shooting at -1. This one will for sure live. And out here, this one's more than likely going to live as well because of cover. Although, I don't know. My examples are bad. Effectively, what I'm trying to do is the little stuff runs past my opponent, or not even past, but it can run at my opponent and like Pure Strains can charge or bikes can just get close enough. But what I'm trying to do is shut down shooting lanes. I'm trying to say this angle that you can get to, like here, back to this, like this angle that you can get to say maybe get these neophytes, say maybe I'm able to go right here because this guy was up here or something like this, right? I'm going to shoot and kill you, but to get this angle, you're not going to be able to fit there because bikes are going to be here and they're going to stop you from getting that angle, right? Or Pure Strains are going to be right there. Or, you know, Pure Strains are going to be up enough to where if you charge them with these guys, you're not going to be able to consolidate into my neophytes and they just eat you. I am using the little cheap interaction units that I go, I'm never going to return these guys to Shadow. They're never going to go up. Even like a wounded neophyte squad. If I got 10 neophytes left in a squad, I'm actually more than fine using them to, once again, block off sight lines, block off shooting lanes, anything like that, to help my big squads still survive, right? By doing this, you raise the absolute effectiveness of Return to Shadows, because just the threat of Return to Shadows can do more than the actual activation of Return to Shadows. Sometimes, if you have it to where your opponent doesn't have, you know, double repulsor executioners, and they don't have things that can answer multiple squads of neophytes, they're just not going to bother. They're not going to say, oh, I'm gonna, you know, I'll let you have one go up, but then the others, you know, they're fine or something like that. They're just not going to bother in the first place. They're going to try and figure out other things. They're going to go and try and tag you with like rhinos and stuff like that. It doesn't matter, right? This was in the best case scenario for them, right? How did I go down? Into something like like guard, to where they have like double Rogel Dorns and a bunch of tanks and all that. If I put 3 or 4 neophyte squads in front of them, even if I kill like 2 battle tanks and a Dorn, right? I'm still in front of one of the hardest shooting armies in the game. Cool, their Cadians are gonna walk forward, their fucking Kriegsmen are gonna walk forward, everything is gonna walk forward and just shoot the hell out of me, and it's gonna say, cool, one of the 4 neophyte squads are going to live, the rest are going to die. And so you need to not let that happen, right? Every neophyte squad is an investment. It's an investment into the game. It's an investment of damage, but it's also an investment of board control, of OC, of just so many resources. You live and die by how you are able to handle your neophytes, how effective you're able to make them, and how many activations you can get out of them. Okay? If my opponent just throws some plinking shots on my neophyte squad and I can regenerate it and I'm on a point, I kind of don't care. Sure, fine. Have fun rolling dice, right? If they have a big activation into something and reduce me down to 5 guys, but that's kind of all they have left and I'm not getting charged, I'm also pretty fine just chilling there, right? And I can regenerate, I can sit there with heavy, or maybe I walk at them and charge them onto a point and take scoring away from them. There's things and a lot of opportunities to where you don't just go up, right? Because another thing, every time you go up, you come back down further back, because your opponent is going to always try and push past you. They're always going to keep trying to get further up the board. And so the later the neophytes come on, the more likely that they're going to be somewhere irrelevant. And you need to realize that and accept that. I will say, another big thing to remember at all times is that Return to Shadows is great to be used round 1 at all times. If your opponent is the one going first. There is another big scenario, okay, to where, say my opponent doesn't have double Repulsor Executioner in Space Marines with Oath of Moment, right? Say they just have like some type of shooting piece that I know isn't going to kill 20 neophytes. In my deployment phase, we're getting so hectic here. Don't you love how clean this is, right? But welcome to learning and being coached by someone with ADHD. We just keep it moving. I'm more than fine with my first deployment showing a neophyte squad. If you can't fully kill this squad in one activation, yeah, sure, go first, shoot it. I dare you, right? Because then I go up, and because I go up, I am in reserves after the first battle round has started, which means I can come down turn 1. So if you kill 6 guys, congratulations, you've killed these 6 on my turn. These 3 are going to come back. Cool, you've killed 3 guys and allowed me to deep strike turn 1. I can come in anywhere I want. They have it's not like a reserves thing to where I have to come in 6 from the board. I just have deep strike. I can deep strike anywhere I want, and I can 6-inch. So on top of my first turn, to where bikes are going forward and trying to move block you from going forward or anything like that, now I can 6-inch because your army is kind of just probably in this area, right? And 6 inches will still hold you back from getting onto my home point. It might get me extra angles onto here. It might allow me to come, if you played it wrong and you have scouts and your little lieutenant guy right here, I might be able to 6 over here and kill your combi lieutenant. Great job. Like I'm fine kind of like almost ego checking my opponent's army and just being like, yeah, these guys are going to be right here. Do something about it.
Hello everyone. I hope you're enjoying this 2.5 hour long video by the looks of it, because y'all just wanted me to talk constantly. It is 2:30 in the morning and I am still editing because I had to do all this editing while painting a bunch of space wolves. That's very fun, very exciting. No, they're not mine. Reminder to take a break, to drink some water, to refuel the snacks, and while you go do that, I'll just we can just have a break together. You don't even gotta pause the video. I'll just be sitting here. You ready? All right. And you immediately made it weird. Okay, Jesus. Christ. Alright, just back to the video. Pause. I'm not staying with you a second longer.
Alright, one talk with Ennis later. Hi everyone, we're back. It's so nice to see you. We just finished up talking about, well, you know where we're at. I'm just trying to remind myself, so give me 2 seconds here. Okay, I'm back. So, moving on. We have talked about when to use Return to Shadows. We've talked about Resurgence points. We've talked a good bit about the drop turn. In terms of what you're trying to do with it, you are trying to do as much damage as possible. With that as well, one of the things that you need to realize is that your drop turn also involves your opponent's turn, because rapid ingress is one of the best things you can do with neophytes. Cool. Let's show an example real quick. Okay. Say, for example, my good opponent is, after I killed this with this squad, or however I set this up, this died over here, this got tagged up over here. There's no real way that my opponent can go deal with this, but hey, they can go deal with this, right? And say on my turn, these neophytes did activate, but everything failed, and so I just have Blade Guard in front of me. And they go, haha, that's very funny. We would like to walk up to you and charge and kill you. One of the things you can do, and this is the whole reason why one character is in the game to even fucking begin with, this is probably dead, who knows, to begin with, is let us just show how fun a little thing called rapid ingress is with the Primus squad. Now, one thing that's making my life a little bit hard in this demonstration is that you don't want to do it in front of guns, because if you rapid ingress, you're also not going to return to shadows that squad. Does that make sense? So we're going to imagine that both of these are dead for this example, okay? And we're just going to go, hello, we would like to be right here. Cool, great, fantastic. This whole unit is going to be right here. I'm not gonna 9-inch everything here. Just imagine that there's a nice little semicircle right here that's 9 inches away from this guy. Okay, doesn't even have to be 9 inches. It can be like, you know, everyone is 11.9 for the stuff that like matters, like Weber's seismic cannons, some of your auto guns, sure, and then mining lasers and grenade launchers pull you back here when this is where your Primus is. It doesn't matter that much. So my opponent goes, okay, well, I can't read, so I don't know what this does, and I'm still gonna charge. Now, this unit that came in has this funny little guy right here, this little fella, okay, and he has a thing called a flaw in the armor. It has a different word, but I don't like using that word because I have, you know, friends that are around the world. Anyways, I'm not getting into it. We have this little guy right here. Funny little guy has this enhancement called a flaw in the armor, right? Now, a flaw in the armor gives you until the end of your next shooting phase, your unit, whenever it makes a ranged attack, has lethal hits. The detachment of Host of Ascension is when you are set up from reserves or something like that. I don't know. It has sustained hits 1 and ignores cover until the end of your next fight phase. So right now, this unit has sustained and lethal hits. And this funny little guy also likes to say, hey, I like to reroll everything. And you go, cool, you're gonna charge? Great, you probably make it in. I'm gonna Overwatch, okay? Now, we've got 24 autogun shots. We're hitting on 6s with sustained and lethal. Great, delete all that. We're wounding on 5s. Cool. So that's 7, that's 9 saves on Blade Guard, which are a 3. Cool. So 9 saves. Great. On 3s. Cool. So deal a damage to a guy. We'll go ahead and do the crack grenades. Why not? Cool. We'll reroll this. Cool. Sustained and lethal. Wounding on 2s. Cool. Great. 4-up invulns. Great. One goes through, kills the guy on one. Fantastic. So you're dead. These seismic canons. Great. Sustained and lethal. Wounding on 3s. Cool. You have 4-up saves. Go ahead and roll all of these. Cool. Take 2 damage. Your guy's down to 1. What do I have left? Webbers and mining lasers and cool. We'll do the Primus pistol. It whiffs. Great. We'll do the Weber shots. 3 shots. 1 dev wound. So we'll kill that last guy. And then the mining lasers. Hey, look, a sustained and lethal. I wound you on 2s. Make 4-ups, please. Great. You failed both. Kill the first guy. And do an amount to the Judiciar. Fantastic. So we've done that, and all that's left is this little guy. Now, if you'll notice, I kind of spiked on 6s. They kind of spiked on saves. It's not consistent. Sometimes you kill a Mutalith Vortex Beast in Overwatch. I've done it. It's great. He shot with his blast profile, I think. Killed like 6 neophytes. I just pulled the auto guns, and then hey, on my Overwatch, I rolled boxcars for the mining lasers. The other 2 wounded. They all got through except for 1, and then they just kill them, right? Like you're hitting on 6s with full rerolls. Sometimes the dice gods giveth, and sometimes the dice gods taketh away. Now, Judy gets in here and doesn't do anything to this unit. Sure, you can epic challenge to kill the Benefactus. It doesn't matter. I can come over here. I can, with the 3-inch pylon, consolidate. We can get to like somewhere right here so that, hey, the guys you kill, I can res closer, be right here. Probably not take the point, but next turn just fall back onto the point, right? And then on that turn, anything my opponent might have in the center, maybe this repulsor was here or something like that, or maybe they walked these guys out, or I don't know, maybe it was Calgar's unit that was here just outside of 12 or something, right? I can go, hello, I would like to walk up this squad, the Primus squad, give them crit 5s and shoot everything into here. Now, normally, if your opponent is smart, they will never shoot the Primus squad, ever. They will never shoot it, they'll tag it, they'll melee it, they'll just keep bogging it down, unless they have something that can kill it in one go, right? Cool. The thing is by overwatching with a rapid ingress, you are essentially doubling the amount of times your Primus squad gets to activate. Will you have +1 AP? No. Will you have sustain? Yes. Will you have lethal? Yes. Will you have ignores cover? Yes. Cool, you have 3 out of your 4 buffs that you need to just go. Cool, great, we love it. I can't begin to explain how important it is to do. And even with like a Benefactus squad, even with just like on round 2, maybe I don't want to use the Primus squad, maybe I do. Still just getting in there to hop down with the Benefactus squad that's going to have 4 las cannon shots with sustain and lethal, and then 8 seismic cannon shots, 2 crack grenades, an amount of Webers, an amount of auto guns. Like, it's a very realistic Overwatch. And yes, you're hitting on 6s, so it's super swingy. Either way, bottom line, you're gonna do some chip damage. The roof, you just kill them. You just kill them. The amount of times I've had like one of the melee knights walk up. What is it? Carnivore? I forget. I'm not. Rampager? Rampager's the big one. I've dealt like 18 to a Rampager in Overwatch because I rapided a Benny squad. I shot everything into it. Benny got 2 6s, or no, 2 wounds because 1 6 with the sustain and lethal. She wounded as well because she's wounding on 3s. Both get through. And then an amount of autoguns got through, an amount of, I think I did 2 on the dev wound flamers. Like, it's just, you don't need to kill them, but it's just an extra activation. And so that's really good, especially into sometimes your opponent's going to pop smoke, right? And cool, you're hitting on 6s with most of your stuff. Sounds like an Overwatch to me, so it sounds like spending 1 CP on your opponent's turn to just get another activation. Real good, real nice, real spicy. So you don't always need to kill them. Sometimes chip damage is okay, but it is still something that you should be looking to do, right? I think crit 5s is one of our most important stratagems. Outside of that, It's Return to Shadows, and then it is Overwatch and Rapid Ingress and Grenade. The core stratagems of the book are very nice, and while we have 6 really good strats in GSC, or in Host of Ascension, you need to remember that the core strats are still some of the most powerful stratagems that you can use in this game. If you're making your 4-ups and you've got the Nexus that's allowing you to use this stuff, be spamming crits, be spamming Overwatch, and rapid the hell ingress. It's great. It's fantastic. You're gonna love it. Cool, fantastic. Moving on. Now, Floof, how do you handle the late game? Well, I'm just gonna take an amount of random crap off of the board until I feel like the board state looks late game-ish enough. Okay, so let's talk about the late game. We've talked about our opponent's turn, right? To where we need to be constantly threatening Return to Shadows, but also at the same time, we need to be balancing being able to rapid ingress into Overwatch. Depending on what squad we're going to be doing that whole combo costs 3 CP. You'll notice that's a lot of CP. A lot. And I'm wanting to do this on round 2 or round 3, or honestly on both. That's a lot. So you need to be able to understand that you need to have your opponent's turn planned out. You need to be understanding what they're going to do, and then punish what they have effectively gone through on, right? You want to give them like, here is this problem. You have like 5 or 6 different ways to answer this problem, right? I don't know what solution you want to use, but you got variation, right? I'm gonna close this so maybe this doesn't flash as much. That's fine. I'm a little bright, but oh well. Purposes are the downfalls of being pale. Here we go like that. Oh! Yeah, that's fine. It's still whatever, but eh. Okay. Try and understand what your opponent wants to do to answer what you are going to try and do, what you have done to them, right? If we blow up everything, what are they wanting to do, right? What's their second wave look like? So with that, sometimes you can understand that you need to use more CP aggressively on your turn to kneecap them, so that maybe you don't need the 3 CP on their turn, right? If it's my round 3, I'm probably not rapid ingressing into an Overwatch on round 4, so it's kind of fine if I go into their turn with just 1 or 2 CP, right? Cool, great. And then also, if I plan to rapid ingress the Nexus squad, then it's kind of also fine if I'm at 2 CP, because the Nexus can make one of the strats for free, right? So I don't need to be at 3, I can be at 2. So, with that being said, in the late game, once you have hopefully kneecapped your opponent's capabilities in playing the game and handling these 20-mans, what can you do, right? Well, here's some things that I like to look for when I am at this stage, okay? So, I just randomly picked up stuff. This is never going to be a real game. I'm not going to simulate a real game for this type of stuff. Let's just say the board state is something like this, right? To where, hey, the Blade Guard squad, the Primus squad shot and finished off the Blade Guard squad. These guys moved up, but then the Primus squad died to this repulsor, and then these guys are moving up, and these got out. Who knows, man? And these guys are here, right? What am I looking to do? Well, here's the thing, is that I want to win the OC game with the neophytes, right? This is 40 OC that I can, it doesn't need to be 40 OC on the point at all times. But if my opponent's got 5 here and then 3 here, cool. I just need to have 8 or more here to stop this from happening, right? Same thing here. So, first thing, we want to use as much free damage as possible and also try and go to like bait out Overwatches, right? There's a world to where I really like to play aggressive with my saboteurs, so I can go like right here and go, cool, do you want to Overwatch, right? It's not guaranteed, but they have just enough shots that, hey, maybe, possibly, they can kill her if one of these gets through, right? Who knows? If not, she walks out, throws a grenade, throws a demo charge. We can also have these guys come here to give her demo charge plus 1 AP and just get some extra damage. Move her up, get some stuff here to get something like that, right? That doesn't super matter. What I'm wanting to talk about is these little idiots. These flaccos, right? So we have talked about using the pures. We have talked about using the bikes. How can flaccos help your late game potential? Well, I like to use the ones in reserves that start the game in your list as very sacrificial damage units, right? Just idiots that are on the board, and what they're going to try and do is they're going to drop and flame something on a point. They're going to drop and hit these guys right here, right? They're going to go over here and they're going to do some damage here, and these guys are going to do some damage here, right? They don't need to kill whatever is going on here, but they do need to help in doing the damage. They need to clean up at least, 3 to 4 wounds off of something big, or 3 out of 5 guys on a point, right? Now with +1 AP, even though these guys are T6, there's a world to where maybe I give them +1 to wound between this and the Saboteur, and they can do some real damage here, totally. There's a world to where these guys just clean up this lieutenant, and then the neophytes go and charge these scouts, right? Sure, totally. I need to find out and look at the board and figure out what chip damage is the most important, right? If I'm going to get value out of the flaccos, obviously anything on a point, immediately the conversion rate for the hand flamers goes up. But at the same time, sometimes you need to deep strike into your opponent's backfield and go for a 9 to just hold something back, because it doesn't have the attacks to get, like, it'll have 5 or 6 attacks, but it's maybe on 3s. Opponents roll 1s and 2s all the time, right? I'm more than fine banking of, hey, maybe I just get a free little tag to hold you up for a point, right? And that's fine. That's all you need to do. Buy yourself a time to where I'm not going to kill this unit. I'm going to do some chip damage, and then I'm going to stop it from having an activation for a battle round. Cool, there's only 5 of those in the game. Cool, great. This 70-point unit has bought me 20% of this unit's time. If it happens to kill it, cool, great. Did you know that these guys are 4-1-1 in combat? Possibly 4-2-1 if whatever you're attacking got tagged. And 5 attacks at 5-2-1, which is 5-3-1 with the previous tag. All with wound rerolls if they're on a point. They'll still kill stuff. They'll trade like anything else. It's amazing. So you drop these guys, you do damage with the flamers, and then you go ahead and you declare every 9-inch charge you have, right? Another thing as well. Say all these neophytes are back, and these guys are the ones that 9-inch deep strike, and say I killed these hellblasters, right? I just pick these guys up, cool, great, they're dead. Now this neo squad is going to declare a 9-inch charge onto this point, because am I going to do any damage to this Primaris lieutenant? If the answer was if your answer was yes, you are very stupid. Keep watching, please. Because the answer is no, kids. The answer is no, we're not going to do any damage whatsoever. I don't care. You can, maybe you spike and kill damage. I've seen NS kill Bjorn in melee when he was on 2. Sure, totally. It could happen. Don't bank for that. What matters right now is that you hold this point. And how the hell does this person take this point back? Because your win condition for Host of Ascension is in this Space Marines players list, right? He has 2 repulsor executioners. Those hurt like a motherfucker. And Calgar's real tanky. These guys kill pretty effectively. Oh no, and cursors, like, it's, it's Space Marine good stuff. Great. If I have my drop turn, and this dies, and one of these guys die, and this squad's dead, and maybe Calgar's gone as well, and here, cool, great, boom, those are dead. How does my opponent win the game? How does my opponent win this game? Genuinely. Because I have this activation to go hurt here, right? We're going to do a bunch of damage here. We're going to continue to shoot these guys. I don't care if I only kill 1. Maybe I split fire and have a shitty time. Cool, this point's going to be mine forever. They can't do anything here. This guy, 5 scouts, this guy, they're not doing anything. Why do they care? Why do I care about them, right? He could precision out my Benefactus all he wants. Great. I'm going to be bringing back infinite neophytes, and I'm going to hold this point forever. And I'm going to take the activation away that allows him to go deal with the flaccos, and then on my turn, hey, these walk up and they'll charge the lieutenant and kill him. Great. Like, you need to get to a point to where I'm not trying to table my opponent. If I table my opponent, that's great. What I do every time I pair into someone is I look at their list and I try and figure out what has the greatest volume of attacks. Real simple stuff. Real simple stuff. I just look at something, look at the attack characteristic, and look how big the number is. I don't give a damn about strength, AP, or damage. Very much not damage. Sure, have fun with your d6 plus 1. I'm 1 wound. I don't care. I look at the volume of attacks. And sure, strength 6 hurts, AP1, AP2 plus hurts. Sure, fine. It changes the math. If you have 19 attacks, I don't care. Cool. That's a great Angron you've got there. He mathematically does not kill 20 neophytes. Sorry. Sorry. I'm going to sit on this point now, and at least one neophyte is going to live. And that's if you don't roll any ones, which guess what? People like to roll ones in a dice game. I'm going to have at least one guy, and I'm going to regenerate D3 plus 3, minimum 4, so I've got 10 OC on the point because it's minimum 5 guys there, and if I want to, 1 CP, auto pass morale, cool, this point is mine, it's sticky. Do something about it, right? I don't need to kill my opponent's army. I need to stop them from killing mine. So, in that list to where I played against, I just had my buddy put on a random Space Marine list onto the board. I kill those 2 Repulsor Executioners, the game is won. That's it. Sure, we can like go back and forth and ooh, maybe Calgar and some Blade Guard do like some damage, right? And like, oh, but like, I kill those Repulsor Executioners, I kill the Assault Intercessors, and then I just do chip damage into everything else. I kill a Blade Guard here. I kill 1 or 2 of the Inceptors. What do you do to the 20 mens? In this display, by the way, mind you, there's a world to where I go, hey, of my 10 Resurgence points, I'm just gonna bring back a 20 man. Cool. They're gonna be here now. I can go for this 9-inch charge here, right? I can shoot them. If they live, I go for the 9 from both the Acolyte Hybrids and the Inceptors. Now these guys are over here, right? Let's say they dropped in. They can shoot here, they can shoot here, go for the 9. If they make that point's mine forever, right? This is just mine. This is just mine. This is just mine. I have now made it to where my opponent does not have the attacks, and they no longer can win because I just regenerate on the point. And if they go and they start killing my Flacos or my Bikes or my Pure Strains, I just bring those back and I continue to deal damage, right? So, once again, the point of the list is not to just table your opponent. The point of the list is to win with a million OC. And it just so happens that neophytes happen to do outstanding damage. But the thing is it's not consistent damage. So your game plan can't be, I'm just going to table my opponent. Your game plan is going to be that you're going to outscore your opponent. And then while you're playing that game plan, you use your damage to essentially inhibit their ability to play the game as much as possible. Does that make sense? Listen, I've had games to where I table people by 3 because they didn't know how to play into Swarmhost. Yeah, that's you're still just gonna have those games where you just go, oh, I rolled all 5s and 6s. Oh, here's all my sustain and lethal. Please die and leave the game. Like, yeah, absolutely. There's some times to where the dice just win the game for me. And then there are going to be games to where everything whiffs. I maybe kill a quarter of your army and you still just lose because you never hold primary. You never get up the board. There's 1,000 bodies blocking you from what you actually want to do. Everything is somehow always tagged because of the 8 9-inch charges I declared. I made like 2, maybe even 3 of them. And it's just, what do? You don't get to activate, right? And so that's how Swarmhost wins. You don't look to kill your opponent. That is a side quest. That is not the main quest you are trying to do. That is something that is purely in your little HUD. If this was a video game, in your little HUD, it says optional in little parentheses, right? The little bracket right next to it, right? Main objective, outscore your opponent. Secondary objective, optional, table them. Great. And I know that sounds simple because that's like, floof, that's every 40k game. Yeah, I get that. But a lot of people come to me and they say, Floof, I'm not like killing things, right? I'll shoot neophytes and they just bounce off of whatever I'm trying to do. It's like, yeah, you're kind of aiming for chip damage, right? I'm not going to kill 10 possessed. But if I kill 7 of them and it's 3 guys left, I don't care what they do anymore. Yeah, go attack my neophytes. You don't kill them. I'm going to do the little dirty fallback, which also, just in case anyone has missed it, the stringing video, go watch that. The how to like string and do the dirty fallback to where you have a guy out of coherency. So that's the last guy you pull, but you can pull the models that are in melee at the end of the turn, and then you pull the guy that's out of coherency. So on your turn, you regenerate and just shoot the guys in front of you. Cool, great, fantastic. If you use your neophyte smart, and you know when you need to kill them, and how to keep protecting your activations so they don't go away, you're going to do great. You're going to do awesome. Genuinely, this list is, I think, personally, I think Swarmhost is the best list in 40k. I think that it's something to where, at first it was just an archetype I was having fun with because I like Swarm lists and I like neophytes. And then after Cali Cup, Innis went and made it something that's like usable at the top level. And then after the recent data slate that put bikes into it, I think it's the best list in 40k. Absolutely, I think it is. And so, yeah, I think it's gonna be great. So, I think this covers everything. Hello everyone, Editor Floof here. I'm coming in real quick. I don't know why I took the mic off the stand, but we're doing it live, okay? It's 6 in the morning. I've been up editing and painting all night. So, the thing is that at a point that you probably have already gotten to, I had said, I think that's it. Oh, one more thing. The funny thing about that is I proceeded to do that like 12 more times. I had a script. I thought I held to it, and then editing it, I did not. So you know what? I don't know how to edit this. I don't know how to shamble it together, and it's 6 in the morning. I'm not reshooting this. So just, it's chunks of knowledge. It's the redeploy war with infiltrates and redeploys. It's talking about more in-depth on target priority in terms of handling the Gladiator Reapers, because for some reason I picked a Space Marine list with 2 Gladiator Reapers to go up against. That's not normal. You're not normally going against that. But like a lot of small things like that, and matchups as well. So it's like stuff that is important, but also like, I don't know, man. Just I'm gonna do my best, okay? But if the cuts in between are a little shaky, I apologize. This is what you get. You get to look at a tired Floof. Anyways, it's great. So we've talked about resurgence points. We've talked about the role of every unit. We've talked about buying ourselves space in terms of going first and going second. We've talked about my thought process on move blocking certain things, but allowing your opponent to go into other things. How, hey, it's okay to die. You want your units to die. That way you can kind of cycle through them and get more value, right? If I'm on turn 3 or turn 4 and I haven't used any resurgence points, either the game is going incredibly well, or man, I'm really annoyed because my Flacos keep living on like 1 and I really want them to fucking die. Because now I can't do like established locus on my opponent's home point because everything's down. Rough. All right. I think that's just about everything. The only thing is, I think just matchups. Yeah. I think it's matchups are the last thing. Listen, Swarmhost I think is playable into every army. Obviously, if I'm calling it the best list in 40k, it's got to have good matchups into everything. The only thing that I feel it's negative into is like Emperor's Children. Just because guns and boxes hurts. And then it can do a little bit worse into like War Dog spam or Armiger spam, right? Just because I can kill the heck out of any one thing. But, you know, that can be a big knight, or it can be like 2 to 3 littles, and I can kill the hell out of one little and I can kill the hell out of one big. It's just in scenario 1, there's 2 other littles standing next to it, and I'm like, don't like that, chief. Don't like that at all. So you gotta get creative with that. Melee armies are rough, but the list is designed to where you have enough chaff in front of your army that you can buy yourself space. leave a Flacco squad down. That way they can counter hit. When you use your bikes and your pure strains, don't be like how I was at Tacoma and just throw everything in front of your opponent's face round one. Go in waves. Have we talked about the redeployment war? No, we haven't. I'll go back and edit that in. Hey, look at that. You saw me find it. I mean, we kind of did, but anyways. Being aggressive versus being defensive, first versus second, use of bikes. Return to shadows very early. Oh, by the way, hey, if you go second, like, you need to rapid ingress on your opponent's second turn. You need to rapid. I don't care. You need to rapid ingress. Find somewhere to put 20 neophytes on the other side of a wall and walk up. Like, you need to buy yourself board space. If they run past you and your screens aren't holding and they're getting over you, you need to put neos down. Like, that's it. You need to buy yourself space. So cool. And then when you go for your drop turn, make sure that multiple units can see multiple things, just in case one unit whiffs, right? Here's the thing to where, hey, if these are here and this, repulsor is here on the earlier turn, maybe the way I killed it was that these guys who are gonna be here and shoot and kill this, they brought it down to like 2, and I go, okay, well now these guys for sure can go and kill this. If they were like over here and this lived on 2, everything over here dies, right? So you need to make sure that you have overlapping fields of fire to where that if your turn goes correctly, you kill all the things you're looking at. But if it doesn't go correctly, you are able to kill 2 of the 3 things you are trying to kill, right? Great. Start with things down. Of course, you need to have some amount of guns that dissuade your opponent from walking at you. If you don't have any Neo squads down, your opponent goes, wow, you're playing with 1,000 points on the board right now? I think they just run at you. If you were like that, my nightmare scenario is I somehow, for some reason, put 4 Neophyte squads up in the air and I'm going up against Blood Angels and they went first. Great, I lose that game. I just do. I lose any melee army that goes first and all of my guns are up. If they're down, sure, there could be a world to where they get around my screens after the first turn and they're able to touch the Neo squads. With 30 fallback, I don't care that much. But at the same time, on that first turn, if they ran up and they ate some of my screens, I'm going to be able to get shots because of how I positioned my screens so that my opponent will be out in the open for me to shoot them. Does that make sense? Great. I hope so. I hope that concept makes sense. If I went and I got first turn, right? And I have these Genestealers move and they go 11. And I go, wow, I really want to kill this lieutenant. I'm going to declare this 7-inch charge. Hey, look, I make it. Great. Maybe I kill this lieutenant. Who cares? It doesn't matter. You want to know why? I could absolutely kill this guy. That's a great trade. Cool, great. Anyways, also these scouts were back here because that's where they would have scouted. Anyways, these guys are going to come out. They're going to eat these pure strains. And then they're going to consolidate onto this point. And they're going to put a bunch of stuff right here. And all of my guns are looking at a wall. That's bad. That's really bad. I don't want to walk this. I don't want to go over here. Do you know how much aura this wall has right now? Look at that. Things are highlighting when I put my mouse over. There's people over there. They're going to kill me. Oh my God. So if I'm going to go and kill something and I'm going to end up behind a wall and I can't react to what goes and kills this, I'm in a bad spot, right? Versus like if I went over here and maybe touched the scouts this way, or even just like leaving one guy back so that, well, no, even if I'm on the point, they still just do the consolidation trick. Maybe there's a world where I have the Pures go and just touch this impulsor, right? And they're here. And that's fine if now, we're here. These guys now come out and they come over here and they kill them over here. Because guess where they're going to be? Right here, right? They're going to be right here. So now I can shoot them because I'm not staring at a wall, I'm staring at a shooting gallery and can shoot my opponent. Great, that's fantastic. So die where you want to die, or better yet, die where you want your opponent to die. Does that make sense? Cool, great, fantastic. Understand the shooting lanes that your opponent has into you so that you know where they are, you can get to them on your turn. Does that make sense? A 6-inch deep strike helps, but sometimes it can get real tight. So look at that stuff beforehand. All of this is going to come with experience and, you know, playing the list a bunch of times, playing a similar type of list. GSE is a very fragile army. However, it is a fantastic glass cannon. It hits like a Mack truck. There are very few things in this game that can just live a Primus Squad activation. And I genuinely mean that. Half of my matrixing for teams is literally just my captain, or whoever at the time, will just be like, what is GSE doing in this matchup? And I go, well, neophytes probably just kill whatever they want to do. And then I win the game. And hey, guess what? I play the game. Neophytes just kill whatever I want, and then I win the game. Pretty simple. pretty damn simple. So, with that, if you play this wrong, if you don't understand what your damage can do, if you overcommit, if you leave yourself out to where your opponent can see everything in the world, you're gonna die. You're gonna lose the game. You're gonna lose way too many resources. GSC's thing, the army rule gives you more resources. Lightweight, just because you're gonna die. You're gonna need the extra guys. You can't take a hit at all. Kind of. Asterisk. A little bit. They're fine print, because once again, the win condition of this list is to get your opponent's volume of attacks down so low that they can't kill the big guys, the big units that want to regenerate. So, once again, aim for the stuff that can kill all the things that can regenerate, or the big 20-mans. The other stuff is fine. It can die later, but generally, in terms of priority, you want chaff, big stuff. I don't care about anything else. I don't. And that's it. That's kind of the introductory video that I can give in terms of how to play this game. And I hope this helped. I know with my luck, now that I finally made the video, the data slate's gonna come and it's gonna just like blow up Swarmhost. So if in 1 or 2 weeks this video doesn't work, I apologize. But I will say, I think the archetype will still be around, and there's something to learn from this in terms of how to pilot swarm lists that can do damage, right? The priority of it. Sure, there will be different tricks on how you're working, but I think this is good enough to where Swarmhost is such a core archetype build that I think it's the best one we've seen in 10th. In terms of just a bunch of bodies that are regenerating and are still able to handle your opponent's output. So there are going to be other lists like it for sure. And in that, I think you can use a lot of the tricks that this video taught to maybe help you with that. So I hope that helps. If Swarmhost blows up, I apologize. That's kind of on me. But I hope you enjoyed it. Neophytes are always fun. And for those that just got done painting 100 neophytes, at least you got them for next time. Anyways, I'm probably gonna throw this video up, and within a day or two, I've got another one that should have come out a week ago, but painting's been fun, and so I've been distracted with that. And yay, thank you, sorry. Like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. I gotta shill somehow. Become a member, I guess. You can do that. There's no bonuses, but if you want to throw money in my face because I'm broke and American, you feel bad for me. I gotta find some way to get to Worlds, right? Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, and let's go ahead and roll that outro, yeah? Great.